Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Excuse me! Taxi!
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
First, before we handle New York City problems and they're tearing down the Hilton, there were 70 arrests.
Yes.
Let's go first to Minnesota, because with us today is Sid Rosenberg's first cousin.
Yep.
The great senator from Norm Coleman from
Minnesota.
And, Norm Coleman, the American people want to know the truth. Who is telling the truth? There's $9 billion missing. There's this, there's that. Where do you want to start?
Well, first I'd start by, I used to be known as being the mayor of St. Paul. Then I was United States Senator. Now I'm Sid Rosenberg's first cousin.
Is that a promotion?
I don't know. I think my family, I'm not sure about that, but I love it. He's the best, and I'm very proud of him.
We had a lot of fun yesterday.
And President Trump likes him more than he likes me. I have to admit that.
We just celebrated his 10-year anniversary yesterday, Norm.
Oh, that's fabulous.
Yes,
that's
a big,
fabulous.
and President Trump called it. It was a big
celebration.
There you go.
No. I know I've been with them when the president is, texted. I mean, I got great lists with the president. I got called out at the White House Hanukkah party, but I got Norm looking good. Sid got called up to speak, so that was. In any case, let me just say this.
You tell us what's going on.
Yeah, if it wasn't minus 24 in Minnesota on Saturday, if it wasn't minus 17 on Sunday, the Minneapolis would have burned down. I mean, what's gone on in Minneapolis is with the levels of it's not all peaceful protests. By the way, there are a lot of them, and I got to tell you, there's no question. But that the public sentiment now is one of, is ICE kind of, or is it hurting more than it's helping the enforcement? That is probably the broad kind of swath of public sentiment, certainly in the Twin Cities. In rural Minnesota may be different. But the reality is that, there are also the folks there who are destroying the hotels that so the ICE agents are in, vandalizing, burning. And if it had not been so friggin' freezing cold over the weekend, that town would have burnt down. And by the way, the same people that oversaw the town burning down on the George Floyd riots, meaning Governor Walz and meaning Mayor Fry, they're in charge today. And they've done nothing but have added accelerant to the fire. They have done little to kind of lower the temperature. And so right now, President Trump has tried to lower the temperature. He's brought Tom Homan in. He's still going to, though, make sure that the law is enforced. And therein lies the problem. Minneapolis will tell you, the mayor, I've heard him say, well, we get rapists, we get gang members, we get this and that. You may go after them. But if somebody's been a murderer in Guatemala, has a history of, 5 murders, rape, robbery, whatever, and they're in Minnesota, but they haven't committed a crime in Minnesota, but they are bad guys, okay? They're rapists, they're robbers, they're on our streets. And if you're in a Minnesota jail, Minnesota will not cooperate with the feds, will not respect a immigration detainer. And so those folks continue to be on the streets. And that's what the president was trying to change. That's what he was trying to stop. That's when he says we want to get rid of the bad guys. But Minnesota doesn't call them bad guys because they haven't committed a crime yet in Minnesota.
Yeah, they call them
neighbors.
Exactly.
Our neighbors.
Right.
Our neighbors.
So how do we fix this, Norm? Because, one of the things that is troubling, and I was looking at some of the back and forth today, like Jacob Fry and Tim Walz are putting out statements and messages essentially saying, we're not going to cooperate. Our goal, we're not going to have locals help the feds. So how do you bridge that?
Because there's a very easy solution to this. It's very easy. Tom Homan has said, if you cooperate with federal enforcement, and not just the FBI or the ATF or the Drug Enforcement Agency or the Gang Terrorist Task Force, but also with immigration, you can't choose which laws you want to observe and which you don't want to observe. That didn't work for George Wallace when he was fighting integration in the South. in the 60s. It didn't work for Orville Farvis, the governor of Arkansas, when he stood in the hallway of Central High School in Little Rock. It didn't work then, and it can't work in Minneapolis. You can't choose what laws you want to enforce. So the simple solution is for Minneapolis to say, okay, if you can take care of these folks, we recognize these detainers, immigration detainers, we will turn them over to you in our jails, then you don't need what they call collateral arrest. You don't need the enforcement on the streets. That's what Holman has offered, and I got to believe that's going to be the resolution. Cooperate with the federal authorities in the jails so you don't have to be on the streets. Not that complicated.
By the way, I sort of thought that's where it was headed, but then in the last 24 hours or so, at least publicly, maybe they're saying something different privately.
They may not be, but then in the end, you're still going to have. They're creating this is such an easy solution. It's so
I
simple.
Agree. I agree.
Why would you not want to turn over bad guys who are in jail? And respect this process if you're so concerned about people cowering in their homes, if you're so concerned about enforcement on the streets that is causing fear in the minds of our neighbors. Quote, you could put all that aside by simply saying no more sanctuary city status. This is all about sanctuary cities. I've called that a religious belief amongst the Walses and the Frys. And if they could move away from that, we could easily solve this problem. By the way, as it's being solved in cities throughout the United States, without the conflict, without the strife, without the kind of the damage that you're seeing in Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. Rudy Washington.
Yes, they don't want to do that. I mean, that's the obvious. We only been saying that since day one. But they don't want to do that. And I think a lot of it is also, like you just said, rooted in this question of sanctuary cities. And I'm not sure why the AG hasn't moved on that. I think we need to take a case, Judge, up to the Supreme Court.
I think it's very interesting because I used to be solicitor. I was once a solicitor general of the state of Minnesota. I'd welcome this argument. So it's a difference. So the argument is Supremacy Clause, Article 6,
right.
Versus they would say the 10th Amendment. 10th Amendment does not give you the right to simply disregard federal law. Okay, that does not give you that right. And so in that instance, I think if this thing went up, that sanctuary cities, in fact, could be challenged, should be challenged. And again, it's a simple answer to if you really care about ending strife on the street, get rid of the necessity to be on the street by working with the federal authorities, by following the laws that Congress passed. It's not that complicated.
Judge Weinberg.
Senator, good to talk to you again, sir. The fact of the matter is, this argument they're making is called the nullification doctrine, and it's long established as a matter of law that the states cannot nullify federal law. It's that simple as a matter of law. And your solution about cooperation is a simple, practical solution. They're making a crisis out of something that should not be a crisis.
And unfortunately, Joe, you hit it on the head. They are making a crisis, I think, for the sake of making a crisis. And what I fear is that this is going to become now kind of the game plan in other places around the country, that they think if they can generate enough strife and enough conflict, and then folks who kind of do, I got to say this, do foolish things by bringing guns into confrontation when you're having a confrontation with the authorities. It doesn't end up having a good result, and we'll kind of see what plays out in this investigation. But it's not a good formula, and I love the Second Amendment. I'm not arguing that people don't have a right to carry weapons, but I would tell my kids, if I was talking to my kids are older now, but when they were younger, I would say, if you're driving and the cop tells you to stop, you stop. If he tells you to put your hands on the steering wheel, you put them on the steering wheel, and don't bring weapons into a confrontation where all of a sudden you're on the ground. Does somebody see a gun in the waist? Did they see a hand reaching for the gun? Is it Preddy's hand or is it somebody else's? Who knows? It's just a bad formula. It's
Senator,
stupid.
The other problem we had in New York, there were 70 arrests last night at the Hilton Hotel because all of a sudden there was a big conflict at the Hilton because they thought ICE people were living there. So all of a sudden, all these people, maybe 100, there was 70 arrests, maybe there was 100 people, 150 people, I don't know how many people are there. and they had to call in which unit?
the
Strategic Response Group.
Which is the special unit that Mayor Mondani's been
then
trying to get
we
rid
had a
of.
problem because Mayor Mondani said, thank the police for not
Being violent.
For not being violent. He praised the protesters and said, I thank the police for keeping themselves under control.
Now, if I'm watching television at home, do I wake up and say, let me go get dressed, and it's only 10 degrees outside, and let me go picket at this Hilton? Something smells. Something is rotten.
It's not even. It's not, John. It's not even picketing. They rush into the lobby and they take over the lobby. That's not a protest outside.
Somebody's paying these people, and somebody has to wake up and say, enough is enough.
Yeah, it's organized. I mean, and Norm, too, they had the same T-shirt, same sign. Also, by the way, you probably saw this, Norm. In Minneapolis, they really destroyed and trashed a Hilton where they thought ICE was staying in the last 24 hours, and they found it in the signal chat.
Senator, what they're trying to do is take
that they're very highly organized. They kind of expose that. So it's interesting, by the way, because in a suburb of the Twin Cities, Maple Grove, you had the same kind of demonstration. The police moved in very quickly and shut it down right away. Right. So if authorities move quickly, which they should, they can't let these things. Unfortunately, in Minneapolis, they let them do what they want to do. And as I said before, if it wasn't minus 20-something degrees, that town would have been aflame.
Senator, what I think is going on is they're trying to get the billions of dollars that are missing. They're trying to get it off the front page, and change the subject on the front page of the newspapers and the television stations.
They have been very effective in doing that, and that story is one that better not fade into the distance. That you're talking about at least $9 billion of taxpayers' funds that were fraudulently obtained when the governor did nothing about it, the mayor did nothing about it, the attorney general took contributions from the folks that were doing the fraud. There's going to be a reckoning with that. And hopefully that's on Election Day next year. But you're right. It has been very successful, and there's no discussion about that. I would hope that folks don't forget about that and ultimately say, something, people have to be held accountable, for letting this take place and for not acting on it and in many ways simply turning a blind eye. And let's figure out what the reasons for that were.
I hope the millions of people listening to us realize that that's what is really happening. They're trying to change the narrative of what's on the front page of the newspaper.
They have been very effective in doing that, and not to the benefit of the people of Minneapolis or St. Paul. There is, as I said, an easy solution that common sense would dictate that would end the potential for conflict, and yet you have folks so committed to their sanctuary city agenda that they refuse to do what needs to be done to provide for a safer Minnesota and doing what Americans should do, and that is respect and enforce the law.
100%. You got to come back again soon.
Do me
Norm.
a favor. Please keep talking on the radio, keep talking on the televisions, and let's get the truth out, because it's our responsibility as, American citizens.
Norm, thank you so much, Norm. Thank you.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.